Good afternoon. Welcome back to Elated Real Estate's weekly podcast. We're glad you joined. We are going to discuss today just a quick run through of some calculators that I found online. I thought you might be interested in. So let's share those here. This is from a website called readiness.com. These are some affordability calculators, and there's a lot of different ways to run numbers here for different things and we'll go through some of these over the next coming weeks, but just to kind of run through the buy now versus wait calculator here. I found this to be really useful, and there's a way you can make adjustments to this and sort of outline the purpose of this particular buy now versus wait is, should you wait to save up 20% down to save PMI, or should you go ahead and buy with a smaller down payment? So for most people, this is a question they struggle with, to save money on PMI or to put down less when they're first-time home buyers, or they're waiting to save up some money. But here in my market, roughly, I don't know, $500,000 house, which we're going to use for this example, might rent for somewhere around $3,200 in our greater Atlanta metro area. And then if you were able to save, let's be really aggressive here and say you were saving $1,000 a month towards your down payment. Maybe you were able to save more or less, and you can go in and use this calculator. Like I said, it'll be posted on our YouTube channel website, but it's also readiness.com if you go to their calculator section. And then let's take this up to close to what our average sales price is here in Atlanta this month in October of 2023, which is right around 530,000. And then with that, we'll say we're going to put down roughly 5%. So let's just put like $19,000. That doesn't include closing costs. We're just going to say roughly 5% is going to be just your down payment. So that should be closer to 23,000. So right around $23,000, roughly 5% compared to 20%. And then our interest rates, we know right now, are a little closer to 7.5. So we'll put that in there. This is going to eventually kind of put out some data that's going to be helpful to show us kind of what the timelines are. This is what our output looks like. You can see our annual rent increase, we're going to leave at that 3%. These are some optional settings you could put in. And actually, when I was trying this out before, the annual home appreciation, while in Atlanta year over year from last year, it was close to 8%. You wouldn't let me go over 5% here. So I'm just going to put 4.99. Yeah, it won't even let me do that. So I'm going to put 4.5%. And it will let me do that. So we'll leave that there. And then we're just going to put percentage of other housing expenses as 2%. If your annual comparison year-on savings, you can change all of these to what your actual situation is. But this will give us some timelines that are really helpful. So to save up for 20%, or to buy now with close to, looks like you have a 4% down payment paid. So I'm going to go back here and adjust this up a little bit to get it closer to 5%. Let's just put it at like 29. And that does put us in the buy now with your 5% down payment. So there's conventional and FHA loan products out there at 5%. There's conventional loan products out there at 3%. There's conventional loan products at 10%. You can certainly get one at 20%. But for this example, we're trying to discuss just what it would be to wait to save up that 20% down to avoid PMI, compared to what it is to go ahead and buy now with that 5% down. And so what you get as your outcome is you got a roughly $29,000 down payment with roughly 5%, compared to trying to save while homes are appreciating in your market, and while you're also paying rent, which is, your equity that you're foregoing by paying rent. So you of course get no equity from paying rent. And if you have a $3,200 per month rent payment, that's what you're giving up. So your total monthly payment, if you start today with 5% down, and instead of waiting to put 20% down, it's going to be roughly your mortgage insurance, taxes, HOA, insurance. And that's where that 2% number comes in. but then you also got a roughly total payment of 4,500 compared to 3,200. So the way I would think about that is partly that you have, while that is $1,300 roughly more per month, you're also not having to save that $1,000 a month. And you're building equity in your home. And so then it talks about waiting that 12 and a half years while homes are appreciating, and you're essentially waiting, and you're kind of fighting a timeline that's difficult to beat, basically. So essentially you can go about doing this, and it also says by doing this, you're likely to have an opportunity to take out, after the fourth year, to take out that PMI, reducing your monthly payment by $116. And then your rent's projected to be higher after the 12 years that you have to wait. So all of these factors build up to waiting to save up for a down payment may not work out to be the best outcome. And then, as we've seen in the last couple of years, when rates go down, there's an opportunity to refinance. So if we go back to this and change the rate down, say we get back down to somewhere close to 5 or 5.5, let's just make it conservative. Consider this goes down considerably when you do things like that. So hopefully this has been helpful to think through the cost of waiting when it comes to waiting to save up more for your down payment, as opposed to going ahead with a lower down payment and watching your house appreciate, which it tends to do over time. So hopefully it's been helpful, and I hope you'll join us again for our next episode.